It's time to talk timing about tomorrow's impacts here across the Charlotte area. So as early as 1 o'clock, we could start to see some of those snow showers in portions of the area. This will go on till about Saturday morning, not actively snowing or ice falling from the sky, but it will be the impact once it has happened. Keep in mind that overnight and of course very early Saturday morning, we won't have had a lot of sun or warm air to melt all that mess. So the impact again, Friday afternoon through Saturday morning, hazardous travel with snow and ice covered on the roadways. Snow happens first, which means the sleet goes on top of it and the ice goes on top of that as it makes its changeover later on Friday afternoon and evening, which means even more glaze sitting right on top of our roadways. So best advice here is to limit travel if possible, use caution, stay weather aware, and don't forget to charge those devices. That's whether you're at home and for some reason maybe you lose power, lose internet, you're still able to get our updates here on our app, WCNC Plus, or of course, what if you're stuck out and about? You really need to know so you can get those updates here. Now, here's where the winter storm is now. It is making its way toward the Carolinas. Will be impacting places like Atlanta as early as 5 to 7 o'clock in the morning. Again, closer to us in tomorrow afternoon. Now, when we look at these numbers here, I also want you to pay attention to how cold it's expected to be tomorrow afternoon. We're talking high temperatures near the freezing mark. The reason why this is important is because it's almost always cold enough, even during some of the summer months, for snow to fall at the upper levels of the atmosphere. That's just how our atmosphere works. It gets colder as you go up. But what eventually will happen is we'll start to get warm air in the mid levels of the atmosphere. So if every single air temperature is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, we get snow. But again, we get a lot of warm air here in Charlotte, and warm can be classified as anything above 32 degrees. So when there's warm air in the mid levels, the snow eventually melts and then refreezes before reaching the ground. This results sleet, if not sometimes freezing rain. Now, because of these two profiles, and we do look like we're going to see warm air, that's why we're expecting the snow to start first. And then as we start to get some of those slightly warmer temperatures in the mid levels, we'll see that change over to heavy sleet and eventually freezing rain. And that's why you'll notice as we see some of the totals later on that we've trimmed back some of the snowfall totals, but actually increased some of the ice totals. So here's Futurecast 1 o'clock tomorrow. Again, we start to see those snow showers moving in from the west, eventually pushing a little bit closer to the metro as we get closer to 3, 4 o'clock. Notice the ice starts to the south, pushes toward the north as it's warmer down there than it is everywhere else. We eventually see that changeover right here in the Charlotte area, closer to about 7 o'clock. Even some cold rain mixing in by Friday evening. As again, it's not necessarily warm, but remember, we need those 32-degree temperatures or lower at every level to keep it snow. Saturday morning, here's 1 o'clock. Both areas starting to clear out. We will still see showers of the snow variety in the mountains through at least Saturday afternoon. But once sunrise happens, folks, the active snow, the active ice is over. It's just what's left over on the ground that we're still keeping an eye on. So here's your official snowfall sleet forecast updated by our team. You can see still expecting the highest totals 3 to 6 up in the mountains, closer to the I-40 corridor, 2 to 3. Again, still trimming back officially for a lot of Mecklenburg County, that trace to an inch, 1 to 2. We're really going to kind of split the difference, split hairs here based on where that snow to rain line is. But if you live across most of the metro, I would say bank on a trace to an inch, and lucky if you get closer to that 2-inch mark. However, on the contrary, because we're expecting a little bit more ice, a little bit more sleet, we will likely see a better chance for glaze from Mecklenburg County and down south. The area shaded especially in the darker pink coloring. So Chester, Lancaster, Chesterfield County, Southern Union, Southern Anson. Unfortunately, because of a quicker changeover to ice, you have a better chance of seeing that freezing rain, which also likely means a better chance for a few isolated power outages. Thankfully, because the ice is not widespread, it shouldn't be widespread power outages, but if we get close to that 1/4 of an inch of ice, it's certainly going to become a possibility. So please make sure, again, you're staying safe, staying weather aware. Tomorrow afternoon through the overnight hours into Saturday, things will drastically improve by Saturday afternoon, but it's still chilly. And in fact, in that 7-day forecast, you won't find anything that even looks close to warm. But Vanessa, as we look at the extended 10-day, by the time we get toward the end of January, it won't necessarily be warm, but things warm up a little bit. Temperatures at least back in the 50s.